Hello, my name is Mike Pohjola and this is Age of the Tempest, role-playing for kids and beginners. Yes, thank you. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Please calm down. Originally we launched the crowdfunding campaign in this room 2 years ago at Ropecon with this picture that has nothing to do with the actual game that was available for us from the comics artist and illustrator Petri Hiltunen. It's Conan the Barbarian wrestling with wolves. We soon replaced it with a video made in this room. And well, long story short, the crowdfunding campaign was a success, and a year later we had the game available, and we got some good press with the crowdfunding and then with the game, much of it because it's a crowdfunded game instead of it's a game for kids and beginners, the first in 20 years, which I hope would be the angle. But nevertheless, we got some publicity for it. I guess you guys know about role-playing games, but we had this pretty great illustration made for the game that depicts role-playing as what it looks like. This is the game master, and these are the players, these are the character sheets and the dice, and what it looks like, and what it feels like. I'm thinking of having like posters made of this because it explains the thing pretty well. There's a copy of the game over there if you want to browse it while I'm talking. One of the aims of the game was that if you get it as a birthday present and open the box and start browsing it, you're playing. That's why I wanted to have a really good introductory adventure where you just read it and you learn the rules and you learn about role-playing and you learn about the world and the rebels fighting against the evil empire and the secret camp in the forest while you're reading it. And then you get to make your own character, which would be one of 7 different classes of characters that we had. They included the knight and the wizard, since this is a fantasy role-playing game and you have to have knights and wizards, and it's set mostly in the forest. So we have these ranger, hunter types who are very accustomed to the ways of the forest. And then some fantasy races unique to Age of the Tempest. These are Stallo, based on Sami mythology. They're a warrior race that's enslaved in Nathar, and now they're fighting for their freedom. These are Arni, based on Finnish mythology. If you've ever been in a forest on a still day and you see a lake with trees around the lake, and in the surface of the lake the trees are reflected, so it looks like there's an upside down world inside the lake. Now that's where the Arni live, and sometimes they wander the sunlit realms and sometimes join the rebellion against the evil empire. And then the Whiskerlings, they're not based on anything. I just love them. They're cute and furry and clever and can jump really high. So that's 6 of the 7 character classes. The 7th was very controversial at first, and many of our game testers said that you can't have this in the game. It's impossible. No role-playing game could have this. The other half said, I want to play it. So this is the only role-playing game in the world where you can actually play a swineherd, which is the weakest and meekest and least respected of all the humans in this world. But maybe one day something great will come of them. And each character is described. They have their own special skills, a list of names that are appropriate for that kind of character, a little background information on their culture, and maybe they have special items or weaponry that only they can use. For example, I tried to figure out what kind of equipment does this swineherd have. But I was reading these Hungarian folk tales to my kid as a bedtime story. And one of them actually did feature a swineherd. And he had a whip that he used for, I don't know, herding the swine. But not all the swineherds have a whip. And of course, one of the cool things about role-playing games are the special dice. You can open the box and look at the dice if you want. In addition to the traditional 6-sided dice, we also have a 4-sided, 8-sided, 10-sided, 12-sided, and even a 20-sided die in the box. Now they're all used in the game. And one of the cool things I think about role-playing games is just getting to know the dice and how to roll them and how to read them and the probabilities and everything involved. So it all begins with like a text that you read and that becomes more and more like a role-playing game where you start rolling dice and you learn about the world and you meet interesting characters and get into lots of trouble. And after that you create your character, and after that you start playing with a group, with a game master and your own characters. And then you meet all these interesting supporting characters, enemies and friends that are played by the game master. The enemies include monsters and the evil pyra that can steal your arm and attach it to their body. Our sheriff of Nottingham, the evil knight Julius Pelorian, who's always out to get you. And his eagle warriors that are like the stormtroopers of this world. But you also encounter some friends in the secret camp of the rebel Green Hoods in the forest Smoky Wood. You meet the Robin Hood of this world, Thelga Nettleshaft, who's the leader of the rebels, and her right-hand man, or right-hand stalo, Sarkan, was like the Little John of this world, if you will. The blind healer Inya, and the scruffy merchant Mortimer and his stalo wife, who are the only ones willing to deal with you since you're rebels, but they also sell stuff to the evil ones. And so much of the Game Master's book is a huge story, a campaign that's divided in 6 chapters, each of them taking the story forward and forcing the characters into more and more complex situations, and also teaching the Game Master much of the ropes of running games and even designing role-playing adventures. Here's some pictures from chapter 1, The Secret of the Ruined Temple, where you meet eagle warriors, explore the temple, and have to figure out how to defeat this horrible half animal, half plant monster. And in chapter 2 begins your search of the sword of the great king, which is also the subtitle of the game. Again, you have to deal with the eagle warriors, unravel the riddle of this strange map, and battle your wits or your swords against this rumble badger. So as you can see, the box has a Game Master's Guide, a Player's Guide, a map, a really cool map, dice, and character sheets. So it's everything you need to play, apart from your imagination. You can get it here at Ropecon. We have a sales booth up at the Merchants Alley at Kaupamaja. In Finland, you can get the Finnish version at libraries and bookstores and department stores, exactly as we planned. And people are playing it. It's been out for a year, and there's gaming clubs in libraries and youth houses and schools and congregations where people play the game. And many people, of course, play it at their house. Either dad or mom runs it for their kids, or the kids run it by themselves, or grown-ups play it together. It's not only for kids, it's also for beginners. The age recommendation is 8+. So you have to be able to read, and you have to not be really scared of the monsters. But I'm playing it with my 4-year-old, and I think I'm going to censor one monster, but apart from that, it's great. And here's some pictures made by the players that they've sent to me or blogged or put up on Facebook. It's pretty much exactly the map in the book, except they made it themselves and added some new stuff, like a guard tower and a Stalo statue. Drawing maps is really cool, I think. I love it. And then we have lots of character pictures. There's 2 whiskerlings and a knight. Stalo, made by, I think, like a 4-year-old. She's very ElfQuest inspired huntress. Swineherd, that's a pig. Another picture of the huntress and a Stalo. And some pictures were really strongly inspired by the actual art in the book. This is the hunter picture in the book, and here's from one gaming group. They had 3 huntress characters who look like this. Everybody has a bird. It says, "We didn't die," which is a pretty good accomplishment. And this one actually, I think it's fairly close to the original picture, even down to the cut of the clothing and everything. So with all this, we wanted to make the game also available in English, and we translated it and published it as like a beta version, and presented it at the Essen Spiel. The beta version is called Heroes of the Storm, and that's actually exactly what you have here. That's the exact same copy. I mean, not from the same printing. And Essen Spiel is the world's largest fair for games and board games and role-playing games and that kind of stuff. It's in Essen, Germany. And here's just one picture showing you that it's Ropecon. I think you have a certain kind of people come here, but not that many old people, for example. We have some families now, which is awesome. But Essen is just for everybody. This is a picture. Essen begins here, and the train station is over there, and the train has just arrived. And there's a constant stream of people coming to the location. And there's like 1 million booths in a huge mass hall, a huge fair hall. And even some other Finnish game designers presenting their games. It's lots of this, like small companies presenting the games that are still in boxes, and lots of gaming tables for families and friends who come there, and even some like very gaming related stuff, like this huge corridor with just like a amusement park almost, So it's not just for gaming geeks, but it's also for gaming geeks. I was there for 4 days, and I presented Age of the Tempest, back then Heroes of the Storm, to a lot of people. I ran it all the time for many people, and we were looking for distributors in France and Germany and England and the US and all around the world for Heroes of the Storm. Now, why is this program called Age of the Tempest and not Heroes of the Storm? Let me tell you. Has anybody heard of a game called World of Warcraft? Or Warcraft or Starcraft or Diablo? They're among the biggest video games in the world. And their publisher is a company called Blizzard, which is one of the biggest, or the biggest video game developer in the world. And they were planning a game where you can play characters from all of these games and they battle each other. Originally, I think it was called Blizzard All-Stars, and then later Blizzard Dota, where you can take a character from World of Warcraft and a character from Diablo and a character from Starcraft, and they all fight each other, and you'll see who wins. But then soon after Essen, they announced that they're going to rename Blizzard Dota into Heroes of the Storm, which was a slight shock to me. And of course I thought, oh my god, they heard I had a great name and then I stole it. That was my initial reaction. Of course, that's not exactly what happened. Because they were very careful and tried to figure out a name that's not used by anybody. And they just, my Heroes of the Storm didn't register on their radar yet. But obviously there was a conflict. I called it the Stormgate. And it was publicized in the gaming press pretty widely all around the world. In Poland, Finland, China, Russia, Thailand, just everywhere. Of course, these like gaming journalists there. If one gaming news site prints a piece of news and everybody else copies it, so that's the rationale, I think. But it got pretty wild, and many people also many people commented on these pages. Of course, mostly they were Blizzard fans. Since Blizzard has slightly more fans than I do at the moment, and many of the comments were not very nice to me. I don't really understand how that's a conflict. Sounds like the guy just wants to be a D-bag. Probably was one of the people caught using botting software or something. That's one rationale for my behavior. What idiot funds and publishes something without a trademark? Of course, everybody in Finland probably, but nobody in the US maybe. He didn't protect his property. Blizzard probably was unaware of an independent Finnish tabletop role-playing game of the same name. This isn't some dramatic David versus Goliath story like he claims it is. It's his own fault. And then one of my favorites. I agree, because he didn't protect it strongly enough, he definitely deserves to lose it. Might makes right and all that. Understood. This is like not the kind of morals that I would hope anybody has, but somebody has them. Mask has them. Then, of course, another issue is that it's in Finnish. On Google Translate, the name Myrskysankarit actually translates to the Storm Dogs. Dear Finland, you seem like cool dudes and dudettes, but I think you need to know your language really does not look like words. It's completely crackers. Orphan language I know, but I get that, but still, crackers. PPS. Google Translate tells me Blizzard is lumimyrsky and stars is tähdet. Seriously, Finland. What did I just say? And even, fun fact, more people speak Latin than speak Finnish. It's possible. Okay, so it's made by D-bag and it's in Finnish. That's pretty bad, but it's from Finland. think about it logically. It's Finland. More people play World of Warcraft than live in Finland. I think Blizzard could buy Finland with our subscription dollars. The Copyright Troll, a modern addition to the Finnish folklore. Finn family trademark troll. And the final one. It's Finnish. It's not a huge population of people over there. Kind of backwater country, for lack of a better word. We have these huge experts on trademark law and Finland and the Finnish language, all debating this issue online, while I'm desperately trying to make calls with the Blizzard lawyers and figure out what's going on. Some people also were sure that my evil plan would work. And I should be happy since Blizzard will just buy out the company for several million. So, did they buy me out for several million? I can't comment to that, but I'll tell you what I can say. Following an amicable resolution of a trademark conflict with Blizzard Entertainment, the international version of the Finnish adventure role-playing game Myrskyn Sankarit, which translates as Heroes of the Storm, will be released as Age of the Tempest in accordance with the agreement. The details and terms of the resolution are confidential. But so that's why it's no longer going to be Heroes of the Storm. It's now going to be Age of the Tempest. And fortunately, we figured this out in time to have our crowdfunding campaign out with the proper name. Are there any backers here who backed our crowdfunding campaign? Great, awesome. If you want, instead of the Age of the Tempest, which we're going to have it printed later this year, if you want, you can also have a copy of Heroes of the Storm, which is going to be hugely expensive 10 years from now, since it's a very limited collector's edition. Then come by our booth. So we did launch another crowdfunding campaign, and thanks to wonderful people like you guys, we made it. We only needed 5,000 euros to make it happen, and we got it. I'm going to show you a couple of videos. Welcome to the launch of Age of the Tempest, a tabletop role-playing game for kids and beginners. My name is Mike Pohjola. I'm the designer and author of the game. When I was a kid, I started role-playing with the red box Dungeons and Dragons at the age of 10. It was easy to use, easy to start, and available in my local language at my local store. We want to make that happen again. Back then we had beginner-friendly role-playing games that were available in our local languages in our local supermarkets. Games such as the Dungeons and Dragons Red Box and its sequels, Middle-earth role-playing game, and many local role-playing games that had a huge impact on the hobby. We should have a game like that today, but we don't. But we're going to make one. We crowdfunded Age of the Tempest 2 years ago in Finland, and now the Finnish language edition is available in our local supermarkets and bookstores. Kids all around the country are learning the hobby of role-playing, and now we want to make it happen all around the world. Age of the Tempest is set in a fantasy world that's a blend of the unique and the familiar. Players take on the role of rebels, fighting against an evil warlock emperor and his dictatorship. Age of the Tempest will be sold in a box that includes dice, Game Master's Guide, the Player's Guide, a map, and character sheets. We're not asking for your money to make the game. We have the game. We already have the game design, we have the story, we have the layout, and we have amazing art from Jari Paananen, Marko Laine, Pau Norontaus, and Petri Hiltunen. We need your help to make Age of the Tempest available for the kids in your neighborhood. We're asking for your money to translate the game and make it available in your local language at your local bookstore and supermarket. Because that's the only way we can introduce role-playing to the new generation. Thanks. That was how we launched it, and then we managed to get some English language supporters from the gaming world.
My name is Mark Reining, and I support Age of the Tempest.
I'm James Edward Radji IV, and I support Age of the Tempest.
My name is Consortum, and I support Age of the Tempest, because if we can get kids to play more role-playing games, that would be awesome.
Hi, I'm Ross Watson, author, game designer, and host of the Gamers Tavern podcast, and I support Age of the Tempest.
I do.
Age of the Tempest, a tabletop role-playing game for kids and beginners. We have some plans for the future, obviously, after we publish. Sorry about the Finnish. I know it's orphan language and everything. After we publish the Age of the Tempest, the finalized in a box with the proper title, we have plans for sequels and additional stuff. These are just mock-ups I made last year from earlier role-playing games. But actually this year we are publishing in Finnish already. We're publishing three supplements. A small monster manual called Vihollinen Vihollisia, which includes 7 monsters with awesome art, and then an adventure, Hornan Kattila, designed by Ville Vuorela over there, who is slightly more than 10% of our audience. Thanks for being here. And that's also what we're gonna, the first thing we're gonna publish in English, since that's one of the perks of the crowdfunding campaign, having Hornan Kattila available in English. I don't know what would be a great title for it in English. Maelstrom of Chaos, or the Cauldron of Horrible Stuff. Cauldron of Evil. The Black Cauldron. I'm trying to avoid cauldron since it's the Black Cauldron is well. And the third thing is we're also beginning a series of like a novelettes or a continuing novel that's published in small chapters. This is like 70 pages, and we follow the exploits of Ruslan, a young swineherd who is taken to a Stalo temple, and he discovers surprising stuff about himself and the world. Well, that's the aim, but we'll see how it goes. If everybody hates it in Finnish, then no. And we're also selling this. They're pretty expensive, but I really love it. It's a Pop-O-Matic D20, which means that it's in a bubble, and you press the bubble, and the machinery rolls the dice for you. It's slightly silly, but if you really love dice, then you have to have one. Here's some pictures of the monster manual. Here's the Magnetor. The idea with the manual is, look at the awesome art, is that you have these like the rules and gaming information, and then some story ideas about how the characters might encounter this creature, and then some actual real-world information about, in this case, about magnets and where does the word magnet come from and so on, and then about like brief stories from our world that are about this topic. Like here I'm mentioning in the Arabian Nights, there's a magnet island that draws the nails from the ships, and then all the ships shipwreck there, and of course all the compasses point to the magnet island. And I'm also mentioning Magneto, the arch-villain of the X-Men. Here's a pig-headed woman. If you're a swineherd, then you're better equipped to deal with the pig-headed woman, since everybody else will find her so horribly ugly that they will have difficulty fighting her, except for the swineherd. And they actually, in real life, they actually did have a widespread belief in the United Kingdom that some recluse women, like 200 years ago, are pig-headed women, and that's why they're never seen in public. And they even had circus shows where they had freaks and like fire eaters and that kind of stuff. And they also presented pig-headed women that weren't actually even human. They were bears that had their heads shaven. So you could say that they're and put in dresses. So you could say that they're actually pig-headed women. And many people have been asking me for a dragon. I didn't want to make like a straight dragon, but this is inspired by Russian folklore. It's a three-headed dragon with 3 different heads, and all the heads, one of them breathes fire, and one of them breathes water, and one of them breathes lies, and is trying to tell you that how actually you should work for me, actually. And then there's a pretty long story, actually, about one of the fabled Russian heroes, Dobrynya, son of Nikita, and how he actually went out to fight this dragon. This one is like a depression ghost that makes you really depressed. And then there's actual information about depression, that kind of stuff. And now to the adventure, the dark crucible. Yeah, well, that's the kettle of horror. We'll keep thinking about it. This is actually recommended for people 10 years old or older, since some of the monsters are pretty gross. This one's pretty cool. It's a badger whistling that has a shaman drum and a necklace of pine cones. That's really cool. He's one of the good guys that the characters encounter, and actually helps the characters defeat the evil kettle of horror. And here's a picture of the kettle of horror. It's slightly big for a kettle, I think. Maybe like a pot of bad. The bad pot. The bad pot. This is the blind healer Inya removing the curse from the pot of misfortune and making it again a nice pot. And here's the cover for the first in the series that will later on form a huge, vast, epic storyline. This is Warlock Boris, one of the characters that's also in the game, that takes young Ruslan on this adventure. So this has been my brief summary of everything Age of the Tempest. If you guys want, I can show you why, even though it might look good on the video, jumping on the sofa in your crowdfunding video is not always a good idea. I only did it because Linda Liukas, a very successful Finnish crowdfunder, did it in her video. I was, oh, I'm gonna have that in mind. But it's not recommended, especially if you're not very good at jumping on the sofa. I still haven't fixed that. So, that happened. But the video was nice, I think. All right, thank you very much.